Manasa, Assistant Professor from Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. So, gender as a specific construct and its development. So, what is gender? So, with respect to the culture specific in related to and what is the social constraint of the gender and how it is related to the development and what is the gender development aspects that we will deal today. So, as a cultural specific construct, it is the gender is a culture specific construct. There are significant differences in women and men who can or cannot do in one culture as compared to the other. So it is with respect to the culture and the social constraint where they are living. So the gender is developed based on that and but what is fairly consistent across the cultures is that there is a way always the distinct difference between the women's and the men's roles and their access to the productive resources as well as decision making authority. So based on all this, the particular role has been given to the particular gender. Either men do this kind of role and women do other particular roles. So based on their access to the resources and decision making authority or their role in the respective field. The typically men are seen as being responsible for the productive activities outside the home while women are taking care of the household things. And as a overview, how the gender is narrated. So the four main gender narratives can be identified in the development of this discourse, and they are the women in development approach that is called the WID approach, and the gender in development approach that is called GAD approach, and then post structuralism theory, and then human rights based approach. So based on the human rights, how the gender can be narrated and what are the things that to be taken care so as to have the gender equality and to empower the women. So it must be noted that the elements of all narrative coexist and each narrative and build on the next rather than replacing it. So based on one and other. So all these approaches are being correlated with each other. So as the part of gender and the development, so what it contains, so it says that the women are inclusive of everything, means men and women are to be have to be the part of everything, and there should be the empowerment towards the gender where they are subsided, means the particular gender if they are not considered as the active role, so there the particular gender has to be empowered, and there should be equal treatment of the both genders, and there should be always the safety as well as the security for the female, especially the female gender, or it can be the male gender where the opposite way kind of harassment is happening. So and we should also see that all are mainstream. So this is the concept of making all the genders equal and empowering them and seeing for their development. So let us see the first narrative, that is women in the development approach. So how the women development approach is happening. In the late 90s and early 80s, 1970s and the early 1980s, this women in development approach become very popular in the development field as a result of concern that women were being left out of economic development process. So the it has this VID approach has come to encourage the women in the place where they are being the part of the economic development. So Before that, and there were no role of the women in economic development of the country. So the approach focused on the inclusion of women in development as a tool to increase the economic and social efficiency of the development process. So if you can see the statistics that the participation rate leading to the women-led empowerment, it has increased almost from 2017-18 to the 2023. So within 2 to 3 years, there is an increase from 23.23 to the 37%. So the inclusion of women in the fields of the empowerment towards the economic as well as the social efficiency has been achieved. So when applied to the education, this women in development approach is markedly marked by the emphasis on the expansion of education for the girls and the women. So which is linked to the economic growth as well as the social efficiency. So in order to make them economically the counting part of the nation's economic status, they have been means this up by this approach the concepts or the rules or the government has put a forward step in educating the girl and giving them a wide education, and they showing them career opportunities where it is linked to the indirectly linked to the economic growth of the nation and increasing their self efficiency and resulting in the social output. So, for example, VID advocates for investments in girls' education and citing increased societal benefits such as reduced child mortality rates and reduced fertility rates and increased gross domestic product per capita. So this is what one example of the VID approach where advocates tried for educating the girls and then reduce the child marriages and then child mortality rate, infanticide, the killing the girl child in the woman has been decreased, and then the fertility rates have been come down, and then another way it is helping the making proper nutritious or health concern wise to the woman, and then increasing the gross domestic product of the capital, that is India. So this VID approach is prominently featured in the concept of gender parity or the gender discrimination, and the notion that an equal proportion of girls and boys should be enrolled in and complete the schooling. So there is 50-50% of the chances or the opportunities for the both girls and the boys, so that equal number of boys and the girls should be able to enroll in the schoolings and they get education. And coming to the India's presidency on women-led development. So what this our the women's leader have been developments that government has been giving the opportunities for the girls, that entrepreneurship which is focusing on the small micro entrepreneurships, and then education which focus on the STEM, leadership with focus on the grassroots, and then climate and action. So if we can see that over 3 lakhs citizens, 30 lakh citizens engaged through the Bhagidari events to make the people the part of G20, and 14 publications women-led development, and 6 in person and 86 virtual, means international stakeholder consultation meetings held for the consensus building. So these are all have developed G20 empower advocates like CEOs and the heads of the foundations or associates who act as the supporters and promoters to the organizations and the network. So to order to the encourage the women, so it is and means focused on the entrepreneurs or the CEOs or the heads, or where to have the 50-50 access into the ladies as well as the gents. Then by late 1980s, there is something called a gender in development approach, which is known as GD approach. So with respect to not only the women, it is with respect to the both the genders. The GD approach have come. So this approach sought to challenge the root causes of gender inequality and increases women's access to the resources as well as the decision making. And the GAD approach focused on the empowerment and then increasing on the agency of women, giving them a power to take the control over the women lives. So UNESCO in 2019 it has said that the empowerment of the women should be done, and then and their means power means the control is to be given to the women, and then often though the targeted trainings and by workshops that has been conducted by the UNESCO so as to make the girls means women self-employed and then self-efficient, and then they have the power to put some small scale organizations or the industries, and then they develop as entrepreneurs. So this approach also emphasizes gender equity as an objective, which refers to the process of being fair to the women and men. So it is focused on equality for the both men and women, and challenging policies that unfairly bias the men and women. So to have the fairness for the both and women, and then to have the challenging policies in unfair decisions are the places where there is a inequality is made. So to act on that as well as to see that both equity is maintained in all organizations and in the society as well. So, this approach also emphasizes gender equity as an objective that refers to the process of being fair to the women and men, and challenging policies that unfairly bias on the men or the women. So, there should be equal chance that each should get the fruit the same. So, access to the same opportunities, though he or she is men or the women, the equal opportunities should be given, and giving everyone the same thing means the product should be same for everyone. So it is like you don't look at the gender, but you look at the productivity or the output that has been come from the employee or the person that you are having. So the fruit should be the same, and it's the same amount of the fruit should be given to everyone. So this is the concept of gender in development approach. And then coming to the next approach, which is called post-structuralism and development. Post-structuralism theories critique a number of development practices, methodologies, particularly power relations, reputed by concepts such as development and assistance, and then women in the developing world. So, what kind of development is going, and how this development along with the assistance, which how it is increasing, and then what kind of the development with respect to the women in the developing world. So these theories draw from the post-colonial literary and cultural studies and assess the influences of colonialism on the development and conceptions of gender. These post-structuralist theories are concerned with the questions of identity and view gender as a malleable form of identification rather than the definition present in the conventional development discourse. So that means that see, as you look at the gender as a means a tunable form or malleable form rather than you are fixed means you are fixed that for example we have a perception that male will do the hard work and females are the they are constrained means they are thought to be for the soft works or the household works. This is fixed in the mindset, but this post structuralist theory says that that kind of mindset should be changed. So you see who can do what is the ability of the person, rather than keeping in the mind that this particular gender will have only this kind of uh, this kind of work they can perform. So that should be there should be a malleable form of overlook for the each gender. So, from post-structural perspective, schooling is in part a process that should serve to acknowledge, critique, set notions of identity and including gender as well as marginalized identities. So that should be to encourage all of you to go to the school, and there you everyone means both the genders should be acknowledged equally, and then they should be treated equally, and then identify both genders equally, so that their opportunities or the choices or the talents are out, and then they have the means marginalized genders way that both the genders can be equal, and just take out the line between both men and female, men and women, or a girl or the boy. So that line should be drawn out so that both can become equal opportunity based. So while structuralist theory is influential within the academia and in various political movements which focus on the rights of marginalized populations, and it has not greatly influenced the government and non-government NGOs policies and the practices. So though this theory says that both means of it should start from the academia, and then there should be the movement of the women towards the politics and all, but the proper what the expected outcome has not been achieved by this post structuralism and the development theory. And there is another narrative based on the gender, that is human right based approach. So the human right based approach has given that both opportunities have the right means the opportunities are free to get utilized by the both genders. So, as an overarching development, the approach that has been applied to the education is a human rights based approach. So, it is based on the belief that education is universal and inalienable and human right that is interdependent with the other basic human rights. So your right should not harm the other person's right, and it should be such a positive manner that this right is usefully utilized by you, and it is helpful to the other person even living in the society. So this approach aims to ensure that all traditionally marginalized groups, including but not limited to the girls and the women, indigenous people, persons with disabilities, and the linguistic or the cultural minorities have the access to the education. So, as per UNICEF 2007, it says that the girls and the minority people are the persons with the disabilities and which have the linguistic problem. So they all should be given an equal opportunity to get education. So after the adoption of Beijing Platform for the Action at 1995 United Nations International Conference on Women, the concept of gender mainstreaming was widely adopted by the development community. So, after this conference, all countries have started following this concept of gender mainstreaming, and this gender mainstreaming is a commitment to ensure that women's as well as men's concern and experiences are integral to the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the all legislations, policies, programs, so that men and women they get benefited equally, and inequality is not at all perpetuated. So both get equal opportunities, and there should be equal implementation of things as well as equal monitoring, and there should be the transparent evaluation. It is not based on the gender. So either in the legislation or for the policies that we have and to implement a program. So it is should be a strong commitment that both genders should be seen with the equal choices or the opportunities that the human right based approach says. So this HRBA says that there should be non-discrimination as well as equal participation and access to the information equality, and both should be accounted. The accountability of women should be there, and there should be the sustainability of this. So this is a HRBA approach that is being given. These are the references. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.